Religious freedom is the ability to live according to our deeply held convictions and to be able to search for the truth. And whether that path takes you to organized religion or no religion at all, it is a vital right. Regrettably, according to Pew, most people, over 77% of people in the world, live in places where they suffer tremendous religious persecution. And this causes a number of issues worldwide. It affects the economy, it affects how we relate to each other. In fact, the number one reason a state can become unstable is the way women are treated, which is deeply tied to religious freedom as well. Countries that have strong, robust religious freedom protections generally have much better rights for women. And countries that have high rate of educated religious leaders that are engaging in interfaith civil dialogue tend to benefit women greatly. So for instance, in countries where family law does not disfavor the woman or does not favor the man uniquely, or inheritance law, in these countries, women understand, know their rights, and can prosper in every single way. Unfortunately, the situation in Afghanistan is particularly terrible. There are over 2.5 million widows in Afghanistan right now. Over 94% of them are illiterate. The problems transcend the issue of an unengaged, uneducated civil society. There is no such thing anymore as a conventional kind of war when one side is wearing the white hat and the other side is wearing a black hat, and borders are defined, regrettably, through the increase of what we call entities of particular concern. These are massive groups that transcend the limits of any country and are well-funded and well-organized. And essentially their war is on any kind of freedom, including freedom of religion or belief. In these situations where the populations see a complexity that they can no longer deal with, regrettably, the international community has not been able to have organisms that work. The fact that the United States, for the first time ever, held a meeting of 82 ministers in this country to talk about nothing but religious freedom is historical. This has not been done since 1948, 70 years ago, where the world got together to talk about what kind of dignity and basic freedoms are universal, regardless of country borders, regardless of sovereignty, regardless of terrorist groups. This is a historical moment, not only for the United States, but for the respect and for the preservation of all rights, including religious freedom. We live in a global time where there's internet, where there's no longer hard barriers for us to communicate with each other, and every single country has an interest in participating in global trade. The currency used in most transactions in the world is the dollar. I am certain that all of these countries want to make sure that they have a situation where they can engage in trade with the United States and be able to exchange in the currency that is most stable. As a result, I think the United States is uniquely positioned to also say, we will not be doing business with countries that violate human rights. So of course, it is in the self-interest of every country to improve its own human rights situation in order to gain access to the ability to trade with the United States and any other country. No problem is too big that people cannot help and participate. In fact, the biggest danger to freedom is complacency, is taking things for granted, or thinking that something is too big to resolve. Every single American has the duty to make sure that no one is silenced, particularly those with whom they may disagree. And that is because when one person doesn't have religious freedom, when one person doesn't have freedom, none of us do. There are many ways to be engaged, through your church or through your synagogue or your temple or your mosque, or perhaps through local government. Everyone thinks people in Washington do everything. No, it's always local elected officials that have the power to change things, not only locally, but nationally.